Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, non-binary pals, and a technicolor rainbow in between, this is Modular Media Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Chris, Boingo Rider Gaston, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner in this endeavor.
The Vacuuminator. What's up, folks?
Hey, we is this a bi-weekly podcast now?
Fucking guess so.
No, it's
I
not.
guess that's the case with no prize as well.
Things just have happened in a general
Yeah,
sense. It isn't the best.
things do tend to happen. I understand, buddy.
Yeah. It's rough,
I
buddy.
also understand that I want to make it clear to the audience that it's entirely your fault. I was ready to do both nights. But it's okay. It's okay. We're fine. We're good. We're great. We're grand. How are you, chat?
It sounded like you were talking to a guy named Chad. It's like, hey, what's up, Chad? Chad, what's up, bruh?
My good friend Chad is actually going to be guesting on this episode. He's camera shy, so he's just over there. Buddy, how do you feel about wrestling? Oh, I forgot he's a mute.
Vac is not a bad boy. Vac is a
Uh,
testy boy.
I have I have always had anger management issues. This is nothing new. Just don't
No,
fuck with me too
here's the
much.
thing. Here's the thing. I'd say Eddie Kingston has anger management issues. You're just testy.
There was a time in my life before you knew me when I could get as volatile as Eddie Kingston though.
Would you throw hands? Would you throw fists? Would you bite a man?
I mean, it never came to that, so it's hard to actually say, but
True, true,
possibly,
true.
potentially.
But we are changing up the format of MMWP ever so slightly.
Just a smidge, just a smidge.
See,
Gotta
we
clean it
real
up.
we realize it just kind of it gets a little boring, a little monotonous when we just go back and forth, going like, "Hey, there's this segment on the show, and this segment," and then eventually it gets to a point where like we're talking about a segment and we have nothing to say because it was just like, it's a segment. It did the thing it needed to do.
That happened. This and that individual thing happened. It was cool.
Yeah. So we're changing it up a little bit. We are going to stop ripping off Wrestle Talk and start ripping off Figure Four Online.
Because they're better. They're just genuinely better. I enjoy them and agree with them more often. Even though I have said "fuck you, Alvarez" while listening a couple times.
Like genuinely?
Yeah, he's back when I was actually watching NXT. He would say shit about NXT occasionally that I'd be like, "Well, you're just wrong. You're just wrong."
Is he right in hindsight?
It's hard to say because like I have stopped watching, so I don't have my own opinions about NXT anymore. Except it wasn't for me, and
Yeah.
it seems to have gotten less and less for me.
Well, so what do I mean by we're ripping off of different people now? Instead of going bit by bit through the cards, we are. How can you fail Nine Inch Nails, Trippy? How can you fail Nine Inch Nails? You can never fail Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor loves you for who you are.
I'm trying to figure out if you're sincere or you're joking.
That's how you
Because
tell a
it's
joke. You be
I
sincere
know
with the
it's
irony.
you. It's you. So like
But anyway, um, so we're just going to, when we get to a thing, we're going to run down the whole card real quick on the notes that Vac takes because I am a piss poor note taker.
Mhm.
If I took notes, they'd be chicken scratch, and Vac would have no understanding of what the fuck any of it means.
Yeah, it would literally say Dave hit Brian with a chair and it was cool. And I'd be like, which Dave, which Brian? How was it? What?
There'd be a ton of abbreviations,
Uh huh.
and you go like, what the fuck does any of this mean? So it's just
It's
easier for.
it's literally the difference between a um ADHD person and an OCD person. I am extremely specific in my notes and I make sure to get everybody's name exactly right.
So, speaking of that, hey, would you like to to tell people about the first Rampage on our list we got to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about AEW Rampage 10/29/2021 from the Agnes Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. Uh, this show had the American Dragon Brian Danielson, excuse me, taking on Mad King Eddie Kingston in the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. Tony Schiavone talked to CM Punk backstage. Matt Seidel took on Dante Martin with Leo Rush. And Dr. Britt Baker DMD with Rebel Not Reba and Jamie Hayter took on Abaddon in a trick or treat match for the main event because this was their last show before Halloween happened.
Yeah. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. I think we've just gotten into the habit of watching Dynamite and Rampage at the same time together because it's after the
I just
Boingo
bomb
Rider
in
stream.
on one of your streams and wait till you're done.
Yeah. So that just how it happens. But this episode was really fucking good. Trick or treat match was pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people talked it up as like, oh, it was goofy and it's ridiculous that they only drag out Abaddon for things like this, and I'm like, that's the character. What do you want? It was a fun match that wasn't meant to be taken too seriously, and it ended appropriately with Abaddon Baker rolling up Abaddon into tacks that Abaddon herself had poured out in the ring.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Abaddon's still getting in that little Boingo. I mean, this is just a regular size power screen. Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
But flippity flopping, Abaddon's still getting work on Dark and Elevation.
Yeah, it's not like she disappears. Like, this is a thing we've talked about before on this show. A lot of people act like just because they don't watch Dark and Elevation, they don't exist. They act like, oh, anybody who's not on Dynamite or Rampage is in a black hole of mystery. It's like WWE, where if you're not on TV, then you're just sitting in catering. That's not how it works. People are still getting their reps in every week. You're just not seeing it because you're choosing not to. And I choose not to as well, but I don't assume it's not happening. There's character development that will happen, and then they'll show the end of it on Dynamite or something, and I'll go back and check, and it'll be like, yeah, okay, that tracks.
Or they have a really interesting one-off match, like Warhorse was just on Dark last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rippy in the chat, Sense8 is too good for its own good. I agree. That show was fantastic and killed off before its time.
But let's talk about the Eliminator Tournament match. Eddie and Brian, goddamn, it was
wonderfully brutal.
It was Suzuki if Suzuki was 20 years younger.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the kickstart of the feud that almost as much as the world title feud has really captivated people heading into Full Gear. And we can I guess we can talk about that because Eddie does end up losing the match and Brian advances in the tournament. But immediately afterwards, they go backstage and Tony Schiavone is talking to CM Punk just about whatever. I don't remember how exactly it started. But Eddie Kingston just comes in directly after the match and starts yelling at him and being like, screw you and all this, and has to be pulled away by a lot of notable fellow former Chikara wrestlers. Hey,
I love how
continuity.
I love that the people who are always trying to calm Eddie down are his Chikara brethren.
Alumni.
Yeah, you know, it's a nice simple touch because Chikara was also like meant to be a happy place. We know now that Krakenbush was an asshole to some extent, but
but that has kind of spiraled into the big blood feud, the big emotional match of this pay-per-view that we're about to have over the weekend is going to be Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk. And a couple episodes later, we got a promo off between the two of them. And it was absolutely fantastic and fully, and it's like something that people were saying when CM Punk showed up. like, oh, two things that really need to happen: promo off between Eddie Kingston and CM Punk, and MJF and CM Punk. And Eddie Kingston and CM Punk lived up to the hype. It really
Oh,
dug into who both those characters were, and it was one of the most unique promos I've ever seen, in that both guys were technically baby faces. They healed on each other the entire promo, and the audience booed both of them respectively.
and there was like interesting like layers to the continuity too, because Eddie did point out that people were right in their assumptions that we'll probably talk more about it when we get to the episode the promos on.
Mhm.
But Punk's promo was what everybody thought Punk's promo was referencing. It was.
Oh, that's interesting, because I like just kind of guessed at, like, oh, general independent history. I didn't know anything specific, so I'll be interested to hear more about that going on.
It's a
But like,
reference to his WWE stuff, so we'll get more into it when we get to it. What was some of the other stuff on the card? There's like one other thing.
uh, only other thing on the card was Seidel versus Martin 2, which was good but not great. They did a great job of building it, of like, oh, we're using this match to really show how far Dante Martin has come as a wrestler, because he lost their first encounter a couple months ago. He wins this one, pins Seidel after a double springboard moonsault. But it it didn't feel throwaway, I'll say that, but it didn't captivate me like the opening segment did, and it didn't give me some yucks and some gucks like the ending segment was. It was a solid mid card match, you know.
I think it's just really we're in the prequel stages of a long term storyline, and we're just in the beginnings of it. You know, everything
Yeah,
else is like one and done stories, or like the rising action of a bunch of stories. This was the prologue. You can't get as excited for the prologue as you can for the rising action. You know. You okay there, bro?
definitely.
Okay. Uh, but in the like, but that's that is that episode of Rampage. So why don't you give a brief overview of being the elite and Sammy Guevara's vlog?
Well, every year on BTE, they do a Halloween special, which is usually a parody of something. And this year, they chose to do Squid Game, which is a show I have not seen. And despite the internet going crazy for it, I'm honestly not super interested in seeing it. It's not that I've not heard good things. It doesn't seem very up my alley. I'm not a big Death Game kind of guy. Um, but the parody they did was fairly decent from the perspective of somebody who's not seen it. Like, it had enough just general wrestling humor that I was like, this is okay, and I'm familiar enough with the tropes that I can keep up with what was going on. And I also found it a really fun touch that they included Lulu Pico of all people in this segment, because the people in the game were Nakazawa, Lulu Pico, who is a Joshi student of
Emi
oh god,
Sakura.
what's her, yeah, Emi Sakura, and Private Party. They were the contestants, and I just thought it was a really interesting gathering of talent, and it worked out fairly well. Um, don't remember anything particularly interesting that happened on Sammy's vlog this week. I'm pulling it up to scrub through it real quick. Oh, it does open with a great bit where Fuego is talking to Cody Rhodes about, like, it's so ridiculous that everybody thinks Fuego 2 is you. You look nothing like him. He's my son. People need to respect him. This is ridiculous. And somebody walks up and says, "Oh, hey, what's going on Fuego 2?" And Cody just looks at him like, "What the fuck?" And then freaking uh Team Taz guy. Um
Taz,
why is No, not Team Taz.
Ricky, Hobbs,
Yes,
Hook,
Hobbs. I can't believe I forgot Will Hobbs' name. God damn it. But Hobbs sits down next to them in the Fuego 2 gear, and they're like, and Fuego is like, "Look, Cody Rhodes Fuego 2. Why is this so hard for people to understand? It's good kayfabe goofery. Um and then the actual clickbait title has to do with just they've been like sneaking Taz into vlog segments, like doing surprise vlog segments on him, and he's always, why does everybody have a fucking vlog now? Can't we just have some peace backstage? God damn it, leave me alone.
God
Like
damn it.
Taz is the old man who just wants to read the newspaper.
I love that for him.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to point out is someone had a little fucking headcanon, a little theory. The number that Hangman has in the that thumbnail, 282,
Uh-huh.
would line up with the number would line up with the episode of BTE after Full Gear.
Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
And they're going like maybe it's a I do, there could be something there. I do not know.
Yeah. And
Also,
also in
Nakazawa
Sammy's
has
vlog.
69.
Hmm, nice. Also in Sammy's vlog, Full Gear isn't the only title shot Ty Conti is getting this month, because she took on Dustin Rhodes for the Sammy vlog title, and he beat her summarily, but they had a very wholesome commiseration afterwards.
It was babyface versus babyface.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She's like all upset, and he's like, "Well, I don't really care about this thing, so I'm sorry." And she's like, "It's okay, Dad. I'm fine."
I love how he's just everyone's dad.
Yeah.
But speaking of a dad, speaking of angry dad, speaking of contemporary, I'm being hailed. Hold on.
Oh,
Entertain the crowd.
I'm reorganizing the collection. What does everybody think of the display so far? Look, that's Marvel. It's wrestling. It's tokusatsu. It's work in progress. A lot of these gaps you see are gonna be filled. But I'm doing it piece by piece, so you know, it's great. Got comics down there from Triptychon. It's fucking robot dinosaur. That's always cool. Um, did anybody see the new episode of Cyberverse? Oh my god, that twist at the end. You know, I won't say what it is, but you know, really, really cool twist at the end, especially what they did with the character. All I'm gonna say. Um, and I got a shelf of childhood toys up there, which is mostly Unicron trilogy stuff so far. Uh, Transformers Generations and GI Joe Classified is going there. Star Wars Black Series and miscellaneous stuff is going there. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see it, but it's angled away from y'all. I wanted this bookshelf to have the figures that relate to things we actually talk about on the podcast, because I knew you guys were gonna see it. So that's why it's specifically Marvel Wrestling Tokusatsu there. Even though we don't live stream to it, we could do that. Probably, maybe, I don't know. I'd have to run like a test stream with my rig to be sure, but no current plans to do that. Just saying. Uh, oh, what else? What else can I talk about? Um, you are people, Drippy. Look at you. Look at you being a person. You're so good at that. You're so good at being a person in the chat. Despite you saying stupid bullshit, we do appreciate it, genuinely. Those are some good takes on Sense 8, I'm assuming, is the characters you're referencing. I do like those characters, yes. Uh I don't know who my best boy and best girl will be, because I finished the show, like I watched the big finale movie like a month after it came out, and I haven't seen any of the show since. But I did enjoy it. It was good. It was good. It was a good show. Good Netflix original. Netflix bad though. Trans rights. All that. Um
I is back.
Just in time.
You need to learn how to fucking improv, bruv. What's gonna happen whenever
Yeah,
you start?
I did okay. I filled exactly the amount of time you needed me to fill.
What's gonna ever happen if you have to start live streaming one day?
Fall into
Can
his
you do what I
eyes.
do every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday?
Probably not, but I can always try and hopefully figure it out in the process.
But speaking of process, John Moxley has decided to step away from the spotlight for an undisclosed amount of time to go into treatment for alcohol abuse.
Mm-hmm. They just described it. Tony Khan is the guy who announced it on Twitter, with permission from Mox and Renee. But basically, the tweet says John Moxley has allowed me to share with you that he is entering an inpatient alcohol treatment program. Not alcoholism per se, but alcohol treatment program. John is a beloved member of the AEW family. We all stand with him and Renee and all of his family and friends as he shifts his focus to recovery. John is making a very brave choice to get help, and we're embracing his choice and supporting him however we can. I'm proud to call John a friend, and like many of you, I'm also a fan of Mox and look forward to a time in the future when he is eventually ready to return to the ring. Until then, thank you for supporting and respecting his privacy at this time. If you or a loved one need help, please reach out to SMASHA, is how I think you would pronounce that acronym. National Helpline 1-800-622-HELP 4357. Uh, and yeah, I totally agree with the way they're handling this. They're treating it as a private matter, but they're also being semi transparent with it. They're saying, like, hey, John's not in trouble. He's not injured. He's taken time off for a good reason, and nobody's going to give him shit about it
Yeah, no,
because it's the right thing to do, especially when this man just became a father. And you got to think that was probably part of the decision making process for him of like, I'm abusing my body and I'm doing this thing and it's clearly getting out of control and I've got a kid to take care of now. I need to clean up my act.
I just imagine that the environment of AEW, the locker room there, just also probably made him more comfortable with being able to look at that aspect of himself and tackle it because he knew he didn't have to rough it out in order to maintain his position in order to maintain his job.
Yeah.
Like he can take that time off and go like, "Hey,
Hmm.
I need this," and everybody will go like, "Yeah, no, go fucking do it. We're proud of
Yeah.
you."
And part of me has to think it was also somewhat planned, because I know it came off as sudden to a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
but like you look at it, happens just a little bit after the birth of his child, and up to then he was doing a lot of like he was champion for a time, and he was doing a lot of crazy in-ring shit that felt like he's getting things out of his system, like death matches and whatnot, that aren't the best idea to do when you're a father. And then he puts his book out, and literally a week later is when this happens.
Yeah.
Um,
The only I wouldn't even call it a shame. It feels bad to say it, describe it like this, but like there was a hope and there was a expectation of seeing John Moxley go through the tournament and do all that stuff and be a badass. And there's a disappointment in not being able to see that, but it's a disappointment of like life moved in a different way and it's fine.
mhm.
You know? It feels crappy to say, "Oh, I'm disappointed," but like how else would you describe the feeling?
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, all these things I didn't know were going on behind the scenes and they need to be taken care of." Yeah, no, fucking take care of it. I'm sad I
Yeah,
don't
and
get to see what I thought we were going to see, but no, I'm happy that you're taking care of yourself.
well, like it makes sense, right? Like he was probably thinking like all I gotta do is get through this title tournament, and then I can take a break for a little bit, and then something must have happened that made him go, no, we need to do this now. And it's like, good on you for being able to say that, because like I don't want to get into a whole ton of personal stuff, but my family, the addiction gene is very strong in it. My sister has been addicted to many recreational drugs and is currently a recovering single mother. Uh, my mom has been an off again, off again, on again, off again tobacco addict, and so was my father up until his health got really bad. Uh, I've got an aunt who is basically an alcoholic without anyone saying it. Um, my grandfather has said things that's made it clear that he was an alcoholic at one point before alcoholism was really a public thing. And because of that, I'm very knowledgeable about how addiction actually works, and I take steps to ensure that I don't get addicted to certain things. Like I like a beer, I like a whiskey every once in a while, but when it gets to a point that I realize like, oh, I'm doing this regularly, I'm in a habit now, I will full stop say, we're taking a break for a month. We're not going to touch this. Like about 3 weeks ago, I was getting a six pack every week and being through it by the same day every week. And I was starting to go like, "Oh, I kind of wanna switch it up, start doing this with a bottle of whiskey." And I went, how about we stop drinking until my birthday? Let's do that.
And I will say this, just as a friend who sees you do or other things, you do have other addictions that you do or are trying to take care of that aren't just substances. It's like you are addicted to the dopamine rush of a toy.
Yeah.
That those kind of things are an addiction, just like gambling. Gambling's a similar
hmm
aspect of that. It
social media had me hard earlier this year, and I slammed the hammer down on it hard once, and then a few weeks later, I talked about it on components. I had to slam the hammer down hard again.
it's you get addicted to the internal dopamine that your brain just releases,
hmm
and it's just, again, things like that just need to be looked at as honestly as you can with yourself. It's hard, but like, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And
So
but
I applaud Mox for taking care of things. I hope he gets through it and does well from here on out. But at the same time, I'm aware relapses do happen, and if God forbid that should ever happen in the future, I hope it's handled in the same gentle and respectful manner it has been here.
yeah, but also I'd imagine Mox also has like a good support network just around him in
hmm
AEW, because you have people who were addicts like Jake the Snake Roberts, Darby Allen, people name a veteran in that locker room.
I mean, fucking his best friend Eddie talked about recently in an article about having to help addicts who were friends in the past.
Yeah, I think I'd avoid CM Punk because he seems a little tiny holier than thou. I'm
Just a
joking.
bit.
I'm joking.
Just a bit.
But no. And in the best way possible, they are tackling this in storyline as best as they can.
Yeah.
We'll get into that actually in the next segment, but as as realistically as possible, they are doing this as they are handling this in the best case scenario,
Yeah.
which is nice to see.
hmm
So I shall talk about the next episode of Dynamite. Just give me a second so I can get the card up, and we can talk about it. So Dynamite, AEW Dynamite from the Cable Dahmer Arena in Independence, Missouri, November 3rd, 2021. First things first, we have Kenny Omega with Michael Nakazawa in his corner versus Allen Five Angels of the Dark Order. Non-title action. Kenny wins with a V trigger, and after the match, there is a promo and attempted beatdown, but Hangman makes a save. Malachi Black then gets a video package. CM Punk comes in with a in-ring promo. Miro has a backstage promo. Alex Mavarez talks to Super Click backstage. A couple different promos all throughout there. A video package between Soho and Statlander for the TNT title elimination tournament. Samurai Del Sol, who some people might remember as Kalisto, and Aerostar versus FTR for the AAA Tag Team Champions. Wheeler of FTR pins Star with a roll-up. Tony Khan talks to Hikaru Shida. The Inner Circle have an in-ring promo, and the American Top Team interrupt. Tony Schiavone talks to Dante Martin, Leo Rush, Matt Sydal, and Lee Moriarty, setting up a match for next week. Jamie Hayter with Britt Baker and Rebel versus Anna Jay of the Dark Order for TBS Championship Tournament. Hayter pins with a lariat. Smart Mark Sterling and Jake Cargill make another backstage promo. MJF has another promo. Andre El Idolo with Jose in his corner versus American Nightmare Cody Rhodes with the Enforcer Arn Anderson in his corner. And in the match, Malachi is banned from ringside. El Idolo pins after a face slam. There is a post-match beatdown, and the Lucha Brothers make the save. Tony Schiavone then talks to John Silver in the ring. The Bunny versus Red Velvet have a video package. American Dragon, Bryan Danielson Jones commentary for a match between Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends in his corner, and the Redeemer Miro for the AEW World Champion Eliminator Tournament. OC taps out and the game over. So yeah, that was an episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, you did pretty good for your first card read. I think we should just start off continuing into the stuff that was affected by Mox's decision. Obviously, the CM Punk promo was fantastic. It felt like he was really speaking from the heart, and he was really speaking as like a locker room leader for management there, coming out and like just saying how proud of Mox he is for making the decision, and how much he wants anybody else who needs to reach out for help, and then saying like, okay, that's one piece of business. Now let's talk to Eddie for a little bit, because I've got a feud with Eddie going on, and he transitions perfectly and just goes off on Eddie for a little bit.
Beautifully.
And it's really, really good. And then obviously Miro is subbed into the match that would have been OC versus Mox, which they were clearly building. And it turns out pretty well, especially with Miro having that video package where he's like, I've been looking for a sign from God. Here it is, right down in my lap. I'm going to become the AEW champion, and I'm going to finally earn my wife's love back. And it really makes sense for his character. Like it's another example of AEW. Pardon the really tired expression, perfectly making lemonade out of lemons.
Oh yeah, no.
And I honestly, well, I could see them going with Brian. I want Miro versus Hangman after Full Gear. I feel like that could be an epic match.
Oh, that can definitely be an epic match. It is ultimately the best way you can describe it is like the ramifications of Moxley leaving is purely on the fact that Dynamite and AEW really emphasize on trying to keep everybody in a position where you can just kind of float and insert and do all that kind of stuff. Because if this was poorly done, you couldn't just do this, you know? Mm-hmm. It would just be too wonky to do. But because Miro was in a position where he can be slotted in, and it works, everything just worked perfectly. It was very serendipitous.
I mean, you could have easily had him in the video package if Mox hadn't gone into treatment. You could have had him talk about how he's going to beat up some other schmuck on Rampage, and that would have been fine. But this actually works better.
Yep. I'm trying to think.
And the match itself was pretty solid.
Oh, match itself was really good. Miro's been on the ball for a while now.
Hmm.
I really like. Okay, stepping away from the mock stuff for a moment, I really like the Kenny Omega 5 match because it
Oh,
is
such good continuity.
good continuity and it's really reflective of the story being told between Hangman and Kenny, where Kenny hides his insecurities behind a layer of bravado, where Hangman actively tries to tackle his insecurities and better himself.
Hmm. And it's such good character dynamics and
Mm.
whatnot because like they're playing up as the match is starting like, oh, Alan Angels' first match in AEW was against Kenny Omega and he really took him to the limit. Like Kenny gave him a lot in that match, so this should be a good one. And then Alan gets a little bit of shit in and Kenny just beats the fuck out of him because to Kenny Omega, that match was just another day, and now it's being used to prop up this random guy from a group he's barely interacted with. Fuck him. Fuck him. Hangman kind of likes him, so we're gonna fuck him over big time. And Hangman coming in to save him right away when Kenny calls him out after the match also really makes sense. Not just because Hangman's friends with the Dark Order, but Alan is the guy who got him to finally accept the Dark Order as friends on BTE.
Yeah,
Like that, that's
there's
what I love.
but there's also the sub layer of Alan Angels was basically the match that you can kind of quote unquote people realize, oh, we're not gonna get New Japan Kenny. This isn't New Japan Kenny. This is a different Kenny.
Yeah,
And like the way Kenny's words were so venomous after the match was just you
yeah.
think like very
It's the
target.
same character, but it's on a very different arc now. We have
Mm-hmm.
evolved and moved past that Kenny.
Yeah, in all that kind of stuff. And then when Hangman comes in, makes a save, sees the belt, picks it up and hands it to Kenny and goes like, "Hey, hold on to this. I'll need it in 10 days." It's just like, "Oh shit."
Yeah,
Mad
it's all
fucking
you needed
lad.
to say.
That's all you need to say there.
Drippy, I have never heard of SawCon.
Is it a
I'm
con for
assuming
Saws?
it's I was going to assume either that or it's a convention for the Saw film series. And, I know there's people who like those, so it wouldn't surprise me that that exists. Uh, but continuing on with Dark Order stuff, I also want to talk about John Silver's in ring promo because it's the first solo thing John Silver has gotten in all of AEW. Like, even on BTE, where he was highlighted, he was always playing off of other people. And here he is just cutting a classic talking about a guy promo in the ring with Tony Schiavone. And it's clearly like a few ideas from other things he's done here and there cobbled together, but it all works really well together. And for his first solo promo, it is incredibly good. Like it feels like it's the kind of promo where you go, that feels scripted, but you can't script that.
It also was trying to the best way to put it, trying to catch people who don't watch BTE up on the feud with Adam Cole. It's like, here's the things that we need you to know so you get the feud more.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is a thing, like, Tony Khan had a media call today, actually, in preparation for Full Gear. And one of the things he said that I noticed was actually he does pay close attention to BTE and he tries to bring in things that he likes. Like, the plan had always been to build Hangman, but the whole flawed hero thing started in BTE. And Tony only brought it into Dynamite and whatnot after it had really gotten over on BTE. And this is the same kind of thing here with John Silver.
So in this regard, here's the thought. Is Dynamite and Elevation the builder for the wrestling? Is BTE and Sammy vlog and all the other vlogs that any wrestler works on, is that the feeder system for the storylines?
I guess so.
Not necessarily every storyline. I'm just saying, like, it allows everybody to work character, to build character, to just talk and
Yeah.
interact. And essentially, what is a segment on one of these vlogs but a promo?
Yeah, it's throwing an idea at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And like that's probably one of the most subtly brilliant things about AEW, because they don't give a shit what you do in your free time.
There's no straight developmental system. Everything you do is developmental. It's all about being on, like, as much as people are starting to mock and shy away from grind culture, AEW really is about constantly being on the grind and thinking about how you can get better and be a more interesting character.
I wouldn't call it grind. I'd call it repetition. You're
Mm.
practicing. In the same way of like we do a lot of these podcasts, I do streams. We do it to practice talking, to our practice our thinking, our on the fly analytical skills, so we can think and talk and look at this content that we like to do, because that's our primary way of engaging with the content we like.
It helps us get a rapport up, so when this channel actually gets over, when we individually get over and we can afford to move into the same space and have a modular office or whatever, we will instantly be able to just gel on camera. The only thing we'll have to learn is each other's physical cues.
Like I don't want to take full credit. We're not taking full credit for this, but I fully believe that Buster being on the podcast on a semi-regular basis has given them a little bit more confidence in just the way they talk. That has shown in the quality of their videos. Just because
I
they're
would not
talking
argue
more
that.
often. Same thing with you. Same thing with my stuff. I have talked on these podcasts for what, 2-3 years now?
Hmm.
How long have we been doing podcasts? I don't know. I don't fucking keep track of that shit. But now I'm doing VTubing on Twitch, and reliably, consistently, my peers have been saying, you are incredibly entertaining, you are incredibly funny, I always laugh when I watch your streams. And it just makes me go like, it warms my heart, going like, yo, I'm doing something good, fucking sick.
Like I shot my next video the other day and I was able to get just about every line in one take. The only take I really struggled with was a name where I had to say like five Japanese names back to back.
Yeah, you don't speak Japanese, so.
Hmm.
But like, no, it's just repetition of simple skills of like, promo is a skill. You can get better, you can build at it, and you just need to repeat it. You need to practice it. And well, there's only so much time in Dynamite, Rampage, Dark, and Dark Elevation to do that. So vlogs, Twitter.
But speaking of somebody who could use a little more time, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that tag match because I don't think it's as ugly as everybody was saying it was,
No.
but it certainly wasn't golden.
No, it wasn't. And here's the thing, it wasn't Kalisto. It was his tag partner. It was Astro Boy.
Aerostar.
Aerostar.
Yeah.
And I think that's mostly just because he took 1 and 2 bad moves, and it partially shattered his confidence and just kind of made it clunky for the rest of the match.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. I don't. It was an accident. I just don't think they're a perfect fit for AEW on a continuous basis. Maybe Kalisto, maybe Samurai.
I could see Samurai del Sol coming back and being like a regular feature on the YouTube shows.
Yeah.
But I also think like I don't want to really get into this, but I think it's ridiculous that there's a rumor going around that he has heat for spelling Brody Lee's name wrong in a tweet.
No, they were just correcting him. It's just like, hey,
Yeah.
it's this kind of John. And
Like
it
I
may have
think
also been an
I
autocorrect.
yeah, I was about to say like it was probably just an autocorrect. He might have been doing text to speech for all we know.
Yeah, there's a variety of things to do it. And I think some people just were like, hey, quick little correction. if there was genuine heat, we'd probably hear it on Jericho's podcast by now.
Yeah.
You know, SRS would have reported on it.
Hmm. But like Wrestle Talk and God damn, Figure Four were talking about it, and I'm just like, I did not read that like that, but okay.
Now there it's a correction. It was like, hey, buddy, it's this way. It's not that way.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. But I'm trying to think, what other? There was like one other thing I was going like, oh no, that was cool. During this whole thing, the Soho Statlander promo packages have been really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that match.
I've been Inner Circle in American Top Team. The whole segment was just really good.
Yeah, Inner Circle and American Top Team, it's not a feud I really care about, but it's gotten me from fuck Dan Lambert, I want him and these UFC yahoos out of here, to like, all right, this has its place. It's fine. It's enjoyable. It's not my thing, but it's enjoyable now.
Yeah, and honestly, that's all we need it to be. You know.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the thing again.
It's like if I was reading Defenders right now. I'd be like, this is not for me, but I can see it's very well done at least.
I think the only things else we need to talk about is Andrade Elidolo versus Cody, and we can talk more about this on the final Dynamite of this episode.
Yeah. This is a
Uh,
solid match. I don't remember much of it particularly,
it's a
honestly.
point A to point B, and the point B we got to talk about is at Dynamite. So next Dynamite.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy got fucking destroyed by Miro.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's mostly just like, hey, showcase how strong Miro is. All right, cool. I can be a ragdoll for a few minutes,
Mhm.
which Orange Cassidy's always great at.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but speaking of things that aren't great, uh, WWE has let go of several other wrestlers.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the list?
Yeah, because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Okay, so this was on the 4th, so a little over a week ago. Frankie Monet, aka Taya Valkyrie, Ember Moon, Jesse Kamiya, Katrina Cortez, Jeet Rama, Oni Lorcan, Trey Baxter, Zaida Reamer, Scarlett, BFAB, Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Karrion Cross, Harry Smith, Nia Jax, Eva Marie, Keith Lee, and Mia Yim all released due to budget cuts.
And apparently there was like supposed rumor and leak that another reason Keith Lee was released was he was being difficult. I've seen that headline somewhere, but let's not count it as truth.
If that's at all true, then that really shows how shitty WWE was, because the only reason he would have been being difficult is he couldn't make show dates because the guy had fucking COVID.
Yeah, this is a travesty. That all those people on that right there is a A-tier pay-per-view card.
90%.
You can do a full-on good-ass pay-per-view with those people on it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like you saw, I was struggling to pronounce a couple names there because they're NXT people who I haven't really seen.
All right.
Like Ember Moon's been in WWE since before I was watching, and we've always thought she's great and deserves more of a spotlight. Uh, Oni Lorcan, highly underrated mid card guy. Same thing for Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado. Karrion Cross and Scarlett, they were fucking working on a push for them, and kept screwing them up and making their act stupider and stupider, and now they're just going, nah, fuck it, get out of here. We can't do anything with you because you didn't understand the act in the first place.
Right.
Classic NXT call up and release. Um,
The biggest travesty though, the biggest heartbreak, the tragedy upon tragedy, Keith fucking Lee.
and his fiance Mia Yim.
At least they got
Both
released at the same time so they can go find work together and they're not having to fucking deal with WWE schedule for one of them.
Yeah, both fantastic performers. I was a fan of them before I knew they were a couple, and I became more of a fan of them because of it. They're great characters, great performers. Uh, really did not deserve the kind of workaround they've gotten in the last year and a half. Um, and I hope they're able to find some greener pastures. However, I do feel the need just to say, like, I said 90%. Nia Jax, been
Yeah.
a lot of reports backstage that she's difficult, she's a bit of a bitch, she's kind of a shithead, and we have evidence to support she's not a safe worker. She I don't want to say she ended Kairi Sane's career, but she certainly sped it along. Um, And Eva Marie cannot wrestle, has never been able to wrestle. She's literally one of those people who was hired because of her looks, and they brought her back recently because they wanted some more star power in the women's division. And the only place it's gotten is an embarrassing call up for Piper Nevin.
Yeah, no, I understand that thought. I was thinking more of like the positive side of all the people that were released.
Mm-hmm. There's also a rumor going around that like some of these people were released because they refused to get a COVID vaccine. And I'm like, I don't know enough about these people to say that I believe that either way, but, and I won't say who it is, there's at least one name on this list who I'd be like, it would not surprise me to learn that.
Right.
Um, that being said, like, where do I want to see any of these people end up next? I cannot say because we talked about it on the last episode of this show we did. ROH is closing, so the entire industry is really unpredictable right now, especially because the easy thing to say is like, oh, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Ember Moon, get them all in AEW. Let's fucking go.
I will
Tony
say,
Khan's got to be feeling like an action figure collector with too many pre-orders right
yeah.
now.
Here's what I would say: Mia Yim, is Scarlett just a ballet or is she a wrestler? I don't remember.
She's wrestled a lot on the indies.
Scarlett, Mia Yim, bring them into the women's division. Yes, the women's division needs better, needs to, not necessarily filling out, but it can use more depth.
Mm-hmm. I have stuff to say about that later on, but I'll save it for when we get to the final dynamite.
Keith Lee and Cross, they need to go to New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They would do
Especially
gangbusters
because,
in New Japan.
like, wasn't Lee set to go to New Japan before he got his WWE offer? Wasn't it both him and oh God, what's his name? I was just listening to the fucking Van Vliet interview with him the other day. Got released in the previous round. Hang on. I want to know. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. But no, like, imagine Keith Lee going to New Japan and just having banger matches. That just feels right to me. And New Japan always loves a big angry white boy like Cross.
Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed, right. Oh, fucking Bronson Reed.
Mhm. Uh, Bronson Reed's a guy I like. I don't know if I want him to get signed to AEW, but I'd love it if he got a cup of coffee there.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't mind any of these people having a cup of coffee, give or take the ones that you know I'm talking about in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
But,
It's one of those things where it's like, would I love for certain people to show up in AEW? Yes. Do I think there's room for them? Uh, eh, maybe.
that's just the big problem. That's just the big problem is we are getting to max capacity for a lot of different things in AEW.
Yeah.
Like, could AEW use another big hoss guy like Keith Lee? Maybe, sure. Do they need him? No, they don't need him.
Yeah. And like for as much as we've talked about him, I should also say props to Keith for being like the first one to really get out in front of things and be like, wasn't it like a day later he tweeted, I needed to pick me up, so I went and saw the My Hero Academia movie, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Biff, the man formerly known as Oni Lorcan, has been having an almost daily vlog series on his YouTube channel, just kind of like,
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
kind of like, not necessarily picking up the pieces, just kind of like his thought process through this whole thing. And he seems to be not necessarily on the up and up, but like he seems to be in a good place mentally, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it had to happen. It fucking sucks.
Hmm.
Like
And like
we can
it's
cheer on the fact that they can go to a different company and get used better, but like they should have just been used better in WWE.
yeah. And like there's only two companies out there as far as wrestling in the Western world that can really guarantee them in income and healthcare. And one of them
At
just said, get the fuck out, and the other might not have room for them.
there are some other like companies that can provide them with an income, but not like a consistent income that they've been having. Because
It's
Impact still exists, MLW exists, CZW exists, Wrestling
I hate
Gorilla.
to I hate to be this way, and like I hate to think any of these performers would have this mindset, but like if you're used to a certain lifestyle with that WWE paycheck, you got to tighten your belt after they let you go.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think any of them are thinking, "Oh, I'm big." Like the only one I can see out of this group going like, "I'm a big shot. I deserve big money." Is Nia Jax,
Hmm.
and that's just because Nia Jax.
She might do the Braun Strowman thing.
Yeah, that's too much.
Mhm.
Um,
So there's rumors going around that Braun Strowman's about to show up in Impact. So
yeah, I don't know. And like, hey, fucking Rotunda isn't even doing wrestling right now. He's doing a fucking horror movie.
yeah, good for him, honestly.
Yeah, fucking do it. Hell yeah. Honestly, that's where I kind of see Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik. They got a place. They got places in fucking Mexico.
Hmm.
They immediately have a place in Mexico. Whether it's CMML or AAA or Puerto Rico, they have a place in the lucha.
I mean, they have teased doing a lucha faction with Andrade a couple times, so you could bring them in for that, but I don't know if I necessarily want that because I just don't know those guys well enough to
They're
say
too
so.
to me. They're too goofy for Andrade. You need someone
Yeah.
like Bandito, Roosh.
It would be like giving him putties instead of generals.
Lucha Bros are the kind of people that you put on their Andrade. Not that I want them under Andrade, but it's that kind of like seriousness.
Yeah.
Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik are like the best friends of Lucha.
Yeah.
You know, they're that kind of vibe.
I do hope they manage to hook back up with Samurai Del Sol though.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Uh, make it a. They you know what, they could fucking make bank as a trios team down in Mexico because they were always fucking great as Lucha House Party when I saw them. They always did good stuff, not necessarily
Yeah.
good stories, but the wrestling they did was good.
Hmm.
Honestly, I do fully believe Cross and Keith Lee should go to New Japan.
That would be great.
That just feels like the best place for them is New Japan.
That might actually get me to watch current New Japan.
And Biff, I can see Biff kind of floating around, just going full indie. The women that got released, it's more of a up in the air. I think a lot of the women might be able to be hang around AEW.
That's the other thing. I barely touched on her, but like Frankie Monet had just started getting a push in NXT.
Oh, Ember
It
Moon's
really
definitely gonna
sucks.
Ember Moon's gonna be given immediately thought at AEW though.
Yeah. I
Cause
would
she,
love that.
yeah. Oh, you didn't put it on the list. I don't have a thing for it. Have you been seeing? There's a contract and labor dispute over up down down.
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to cover that or not, but I guess we can go into it real quick.
Yeah,
Basically, Up Down Down has all but ceased production because Xavier Woods' contract is up soon, and he wants to actually get paid for it because WWE just takes all the money for that, and the little bit of pay he gets for it is counted as part of his general downside guarantee, which is the maximum amount of money you're expected to get out of your contract. So it's like he's doing an extra job when he's only signed to do one job as a wrestler. That and his appearances on G4.
yeah.
He doesn't get the money for that. That goes to WWE, which is bullshit. And
W,
so, like,
yeah, no, it's complete and utter bullshit. Xavier Woods, fucking get out of that shit. You deserve to get paid for your work you're putting in.
yeah, and his contract is up soon, and he's a big star right now. He's in a push right now as the new king of the ring. And from what I've heard, that's been a pretty solid storyline. So like he has ground to stand on right now to renegotiate for more money, and I hope he gets it because like there's being a full display made out of it. Like Up Down Down and the New Day podcast is the only real online original content WWE has going at the moment.
Yeah, and it's
Like
not even
everybody else,
WWE because that channel was made by Xavier Woods on his own. He just was like, "Yo, it's easier to just money manage to sell it to you, WWE, so I can just keep making it and not have to worry about this other stuff."
yeah, and since then, other people from the roster have come into Up Down Down. He's used it to help lift other stars up, and they've all stopped making videos along with him in solidarity for him, which is awesome.
And there's
And
also several members of Up Down Down who have left.
yeah, Tyler Breeze got released a little bit ago. He was a major player on there. But like Woods definitely is making the right play here, and I hope it works out well for him.
Yeah.
Like it feels dangerous to say it, but like honestly, I would be completely shocked if he's in the next round of releases because of this. I don't think that's going to happen because the New Day has always been such a big thing for WWE.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt has always been a consistent merch seller.
But like that's the thing is like all these cuts have been because of budget cuts. That's the reason they've been given. And there's been a theory flying around forever of like Vince probably isn't trying to sell to anyone in particular, but he's probably like going just in case because it's a big market based purely around content right now. And what does WWE have? A giant back catalog of content.
Yep. It, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. It's frustrating and kind of hilarious at the same time because it's almost like I don't think it would happen, but it would be hilarious if CM Punk gets proven wrong. If like the company does get better because it doesn't go to his idiot daughter and doofus son-in-law. It goes to some corporate company that gives it to people who actually care about wrestling.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a plot twist?
God, dear God, that'd be fucking weird. But no, we stand with Austin Creed. Fuck WWE. Get your paper.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely, definitely.
So, do you want to run down the card of Rampage after that?
I would love to. AEW Rampage 11/5/2021 from the Shafts Arena, is how I think you pronounce that, in St. Louis, Missouri. Opened up with the American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus the Five Tool player Anthony Bowens with Platinum Max Caster. Just a solid opening match to get across what a badass Brian is at the moment, and also elevate Bowens. Bowens has been getting some singles matches lately, and he's been looking fantastic in them. Then we had Tony Schiavone talk to Andrade El Idolo, FTR, and MJF backstage, just kind of playing up the partnership there in. CM Punk and Eddie Kingston had their big in-ring promo that everybody's been talking about. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. Tony Schiavone then talked to Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus backstage, which exploded into a massive beatdown from the Elite. Absolutely crazy stuff, but did end with the babyfaces standing tall and Adam Cole getting freaking hit in the head
Concerto.
with a chair. Yeah, concerto, which played into the main event. But we then had the Bunny versus Red Velvet in the TBS tournament. Velvet won after her finisher. Solid little match, and then we had Adam Cole with the Young Bucks versus John Silver with the Dark Order in a match where both guys seemed like they were on pretty even playing field for a very long time until finally Cole won after hitting his finisher, the Boom.
The boom.
The Boom.
The boom. All right, let's fucking eat our veggies, then we can talk about dessert.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no, Anthony Bowens has been doing fucking gangbusters. He's been really good.
Yeah, it was great, and like the other fun part about the match is just it's Rampage, so Taz is on commentary, and apparently Taz has been making a lot of jokes about Max Caster trying to get back in Tony Khan's good graces ever since that controversial promo, and it's actually developed into a storyline on Dark, and I was not aware of that until this episode of Rampage, so that was a fun little rabbit hole to go down the next day.
Oh yeah, Max Caster also had a fucking great ass line of like how Daniel Bryan's father-in-law ends careers faster than I do, because Daniel Bryan's father-in-law is John Laurinaitis,
Mm.
the guy, one of the people who's been firing a lot of WWE people.
Yeah, he's head of talent relations again, so he's making all those sorry kid budget cuts calls.
Yep. Uh, Andrade, Low, FTR, MJF, that whole little character interaction's been great in my opinion.
Hmm.
Bunny and Velvet look good.
Yeah. Really the main thing to talk about in this episode, and we've already kind of touched on it a lot in this broadcast, is Punk and Kingston.
It it was an intense ass promo. It was everything we thought it would be.
It's really fantastic stuff of them just tearing into each other once again. Like all I can say about this is just to repeat lines from it, and I don't even want to do that. It's like this is one of the better spoken feuds there's been this year.
Mm-hmm. And the thing I was talking about earlier, the thing that Eddie confirmed, yeah, we did reference it. CM Punk made allusions and not necessarily quotes, but kind of reframed John Cena's argument towards Punk in their feud.
Mm,
You know? So CM Punk's kind of being a John Cena for Eddie Kingston right now.
super interesting.
And it's, yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's interesting. It's just so much work. So much good shit. And you can't disagree with that. Like, there's an element of truth to what both of them say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just out of things to say about this feud. I'm ready for the
Oh
match.
yeah. The bum line though is great.
Yeah.
You bum.
Such a basic insult that feels so tame compared to WWE making a huge deal out of the word bitch. And yet it sent the fucking arena into tantrums.
Because there's like a lot of implication with that word of like you didn't try, you coast, you lazy, you're all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things wrapped up into it, and we know Eddie. That's not Eddie. That's nowhere near Eddie. Eddie's not. Eddie is the hardest working man in that company.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. Whip. So you want to tell me about the latest episode of BTE and Sammy's vlog?
I would love to. BTE was honestly kind of fillery. It's a lot of them just walking around town, doing fun shit. Because it was the first time in a while they've been in St. Louis, so they were trying to take advantage of it. You know, they went to the Arch and everything. There's a cool little bit where apparently Nick's been getting a lot of robocalls lately, so he's just answering them in funny voices and seeing how quickly he can get them to hang up. And like literally there's a bit where he answers it and just goes ow, ow, and they instantly hang up. And the entire and they're in a rental car and everyone in the car just goes crazy.
Nice.
Um but the main draw of the vlog is they're in a restaurant and they do um the hot jelly bean challenge, which is an official jelly bean thing product that's been making the rounds, and they all do it, and like it's Cole and the Jackson boys, and they're all like, we're not great with spice, but we can probably handle this, and they're like struggling on the second hardest one. And so that they each get to like the hardest one, and they're like, ooh, that's ridiculous. And then best friends just happen to have been in the same restaurant, and they walk over to their table and they're like, hey guys, what are you doing? And they're like, try this orange, and they give orange the spiciest one. And they explain it as he's chewing on it, and they're like, oh, he's gonna freak out any second now, he's gonna lose it, he's gonna lose it. And orange keeps his composure the entire time, just chewing on this thing thoroughly until finally he swallows it. And like Cutler gets the camera in close on him and everybody's going, oh, and he just calmly says, I'm gonna fucking die. And everybody bursts out laughing. And that's the end of the episode.
That thumbnail looks oddly cinematic.
Because it's from the side while they're shooting a promo for Dynamite.
Oh.
Hmm. That's another thing, is we get to see some alternate takes of a Dynamite promo at the start of it. And it's fine, it's fun.
That
Uh
face of Adam Cole, you can easily Photoshop and make his face smaller, and it'd be hilarious.
you could little baby man.
Keep the head the same size, just his face smaller.
Yeah. You should post that to both the Trash Taste subreddit and the AEW subreddit and caption it, the look you make when Britt calls you little baby man.
I think I may fucking try and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens in Sammy vlog, because it looks like Taz is trying to summon lightning.
Yeah. There's a fun, wholesome bit towards the start where Sammy and Tainara go to a trampoline park and practice moonsaults, because Sammy's like, I've never been able to hit a moonsault in the ring, and I want to do that. And so they're like training, and it's cool and it's fun. The
You never had a
Vlog Boys
moonsault?
apparently.
Continue.
That's what he said. I'm just reporting
I
what he
realize, but like I'm thinking about it's like he hasn't done a moonsault. He's done splashes. He's done Spanish flies.
said.
He's done 360s, 480s, and I'm being hailed.
Okay, well, the Vlog Boys go hang out at the St. Louis Arch, and it's about as fun as watching the BTE Boys hang out at the St. Louis Arch. It's fine, it's good, and stuff like that. Then there's a contenders match for the Sammy Vlog Championship, which is people having to crawl along the ring ropes the quickest, and it's fun. I believe Statlander ends up winning it. Let me double check here. Uh, No, it's Fuego. Fuego wins, and Statlander gets mad, and so she puts him in a sleeper.
Oh.
Um, and then there's a fun Will Hobbs stealing people's phones bit. Haven't had one of those in a while, so it was cool to see that make a comeback. There's a great bit where Fuego. There's been a new bit where Fuego just takes the camera and goes and puts it on people while Sammy is doing something else, and it's like, "Hey, look, it's this person. This person's in the vlog." And this week he got Paul White, and he's like, "Oh, look, it's Paul White," and Paul White just stares into the camera, and he's like, he's doing a lot of stuff. He's moving really fast. You guys just can't see it, and he's like, "Oh no, I do nothing fast," and they start laughing. Um. Anything else? Checking through it. Oh, they set up a dark match between Too Fast, Too Fuego and the Factory with Fuego and QT mouthing off at each other backstage, which is really neat. They show there's the debut of Fuego's art for the Elite GM phone game, which was neat to see. Anything else? Oh yeah, and they're doing a bit with they're finally progressing this plot line that's been there forever with this guy who's a serial killer, just randomly kidnapping people in the background. I don't even know who he is. I think he's just a friend of Sammy's. And they've been doing that, and Five gets tangled up in it this week, and they've been hinting that that's going to come to fruition fairly soon.
Could it be Ryzen?
No, it's not Ryzen. It's a
Okay.
completely different guy.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like in shadow and you couldn't see who it was.
No, like you can see this guy because the bit has been there's been a bit that I've like barely talked about of fucking yeah, Griff and Alan as like the world's greatest detectives. And it started off as just like them finding random bits of litter backstage and going like that person is kind of close to it. They must have done it instead of recycling. Let's beat them up. And then they find out it wasn't actually the person. But occasionally in that, while they've been looking for people, there's been a joke of they'll just walk by this guy clearly kidnapping somebody and they're like, "Hey, did you fucking litter?" And he's like, "I'm trying to kidnap. Oh, yeah, no, I didn't do that. Okay, have a good day."
All
Like
right.
they were building it that way. And this week Alan actually gets kidnapped by this guy.
Okay. But I think that's about it for everything except last night's Dynamite, which I shall recap. Give me a second so I can pull up the thing. AEW Dynamite, November 10th, 2021, from the Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, Indiana. First match, we have American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Rocky Romero with Chaos in his corner because the best friends are now members of Chaos, the New Japan faction. Romero, however, taps out of the Tequila Sunrise. Tony Schiavone then talks to the Inner Circle inside the ring, but the Inner Circle get beat down by America's top team. Britt Baker, DMD, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel fight Tay Conte, Anna Jay, Thunder Rosa, and Conte gets the pin with a tie KO. Statlander versus Soho, another video package, different one this week. Jungle Boy versus Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, another fun, good match in my opinion. Bowens does tap to the snare trap. After the match, Jungle Boy is attacked by Bobby Fish. What? Why? We'll find out in a minute. Hangman Adam Page versus Kenny Omega video package. Super Click backstage promo where Adam Cole introduces his mercenary, Bobby Fish, and tells him, hey, have a match with Jungle Boy, beat him up, but not too much. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk then have another video package building up their blood feud. Wheeler Yuta with Orange Cassidy in his corner, Chuck Taylor go up against Wardlow. Wardlow does get the pin with a multiple power slam. After the match, The Blade, Isaiah Cassidy, and Matt Hardy come in and attack the best friend, specifically Orange Cassidy. Because, of course, Matt Hardy beats up Orange Cassidy. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk then have a pull-apart brawl in the parking lot with a bunch of fun bits and elements. Lio Rush and Dante Martin then go up against Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty in a brilliant tag team match. Dante Martin pins Moriarty after a double springboard press. Dax Harwood with Tully Blanchard in his corner goes up against the bastard Pac. Harwood does tap out in the brutalizer instantly. Massive post match brawl. Everyone is involved. Anyone in any storyline that is part of these two guys gets in. So Cody Rhodes, Andrade Alidolo, Malachi Black, Cash Wheeler, the Lucha Bros, just everybody. It's everybody. MJF and Darby Allin have another video package hyping up what they do, their match, and then AEW World Championship match contract between Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega after both the all the members of the Elite and the Dark Order are told to vacate the premises.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, a lot of things to talk about on this episode. A lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, even though we have Rampage tomorrow night, this is basically the go-home show for Full Gear. And there's three major things I want to talk about here. And if you don't mind, I'd like to do them in order. And maybe we can go back and forth. Maybe you have one or two other things you want to talk about. But my things are the women's match, the match that ends with the brawl involving everyone, and the contract signing.
Okay, go ahead. We can bounce back and forth after we get these major points down.
Yeah. So first off, the women's match, and this is mainly in response to, while I was making my lunch and my breakfast this morning, I listened to Wrestle Talk's review of this episode of Dynamite, and there were two things Ollie Davis said that really irked me. One of them was he fell back on his old laurels of joking about the women's division being underappreciated in AEW, and while they're in the same time slot, they're not in the same time slot, fuckhead. It was a lot earlier. It was the second fucking match on the card.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like. I see this match as a brilliant example of where the women's division is right now and how far it has come. Because with the exception of Rebel, not Reba, everyone in this match is a star. And there's a lot to them. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, Rebel sucks. She's not a star by design. She's enhancement for Britt.
She's the women's division's Brandon Cutler.
Yeah. Like, it's not bad that she's not a star. It's just, it is what she is. It's fine. Some characters don't have to be stars to be good. And it made sense that she took the pin. Because it protects the champion, but it also says something about the champion and how they're feeling in the match. Because Britt breaks up multiple pins during this match until finally Ty gets tagged in and runs wild like a house of fire, and Britt gets out of there as quick as she can, and that's when Ty is able to take out and pin Rebel while Britt is watching on. Like, she's staring Ty right in the eye. She could get in there and do it, but they're showing Britt is a little afraid of Ty, because Ty is one of those talents that, yes, she was good when she came to AEW, and this is something a lot of people tend to forget about AEW's women's division conveniently whenever they talk about it, with the exception of, like, 2 or 3 names, some of which have come in post the first year. AEW's women's division has always been full of people who are very early work in progress. Because of the state independent women's wrestling was in when AEW started, there really wasn't a big independent women's wrestling scene because Impact and WWE had signed most of the notable names from the independent scene. And AEW had to come in and go like, all these people have potential, we need to work on them, and we need to focus on building that potential to something that we can actually showcase and will make for an interesting TV product. That's why for a very long time, there wasn't much of a women's division presence on TV, and to some people, I guess it still feels that way. But like we talked about earlier in the show, there's always stuff going on with these women on Dark and Elevation. They're always there getting their reps in, getting better. There's a class every week specifically for the women's division taught by Dustin Rhodes. Like, they are working on these people and they want them to get better as performers. And I think Ty Conti and Anna Jay, two of the stars of this match, are a great example of how well that program is paying off. Because when Ty came to AEW, yes, she'd had some time in NXT and she'd gotten fairly competent at wrestling, but she wasn't a star. I liked her. I had seen a few of her NXT matches and gone like, "Oh, she's cool. There's something to this girl." But she didn't become a sensation until AEW allowed her to really spread her wings and figure out who she was. And she also gained a friend because Ty has talked about in interviews her and Anna Jay really are best friends. And before then, Ty knew people at the Performance Center, but she didn't have any like close friends in America because WWE basically ported her over from Brazil and said, "You're a wrestler now. Let's figure it out." After she had won some jiu-jitsu tournaments and almost gone to the Olympics. But when she came to AEW, one of the first things she did was the tag tournament with Anna, and they just hit it off instantly. And it has allowed for Ty to evolve into a great performer and a great character. She doesn't always work exactly the way I'd prefer her to. I'd prefer to see some more jujitsu out of her, but I understand that doesn't always work for a wrestling match. There's women in the roster who don't know how to sell that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. Like when she runs wild in this match and she's just kicking everybody in the corner, she is so vocal and so quick, and they feel so impactful. It's all great moments, and like clearly, her and Anna have their entrance down to a T. It's great, it's fun, it's aesthetic. You get them instantly and you want to root for them. And then Thunder comes out and she's got gear that is distinct but matches the matching gear they're wearing. And I said to you while we were watching this episode, Jeremy Padour, I want a box set of all three of these women from this match because it just looks so aesthetic. And Thunder is another person who has been on the indies for ages. And like I first saw her on NWA Power and I liked her there, but she didn't really become a name until she dropped the mic showing up to challenge Sheeta in AEW. And since then, like clearly in this match you can see people are so hyped for her versus Britt Baker. They want that rematch, and I can easily see Thunder being the next AEW Women's World Champion.
Yeah,
I am here for that. And like it's clear what they're doing with the women's division is doing. And even though I'm not exactly thrilled about Jamie Hayter basically being Lady Wardlow, it's working. People are into it. So yeah, fine. And like what more is there to say about Britt Baker except for like she's an example of how well the program has paid off. When she came in, she was very shaky. All of us were like, we want to like her, but we don't know how to like her. And then they figured it out by ha- turning her heel and still working on her character while she was injured. And then not instantly pulling the trigger on it. Britt didn't turn heel and then instantly become AEW Women's Champion. It took time. They built it. They figured the character out and they let her get a little better in the ring after her injury healed before they went there. Like AEW is extremely smart with their women's division, and it frustrates the living fuck out of me that a lot of people can't see it for some reason.
my biggest okay, because if we're just gonna fucking dunk on Ollie and Luke right now, because I like their content, I like a lot of their podcasts when they talk about
I like them. I think they're great guys. They're just so fucking wrong about this that it makes me want to slap them.
my biggest complaint about it is like they keep going like, oh, why aren't you building the division around Britt and Thunder and Soho and all these people? I'm going like they are. You don't put John Moxley in the main event every single night against Kenny Omega, do you? Do you?
That's how you get a Roman Reigns.
No, you rotate
That's how
them.
you get a Charlotte Flair. Do you want another Charlotte Flair? Because that'll be how you get another Charlotte Flair.
Cause look over there, Statlander and Soho are building up a rivalry in the TBS tournament. Ty and Anna Jay are building up themselves to be main event stars. You want to know? You want to know something?
Jade Cargill is quietly simmering away in the background, and every time she pops up for a promo with Marky Moo, it's fucking great.
You want to know something? There are four men's pillars: Sammy, MJF, Darby, Jungle Boy. There's four women's pillars: Anna, Ty, Jade, Red.
Yeah?
Those are the four women's pillars of AEW. And they're building them up. And what do you do when you build them up? Oh, you treat them like MJF, Darby, Sammy. You put them in with the fucking stars so they look like stars. Oh, Tay Conte's not a fucking star. Well, down with that fucking attitude, dipshit.
Oh, she's not a star? Why does everybody on social media call her the best ass in wrestling then?
Goddamn. There was a fucking great ass tweet I saw from Ty Conte. It was after their the match with Rosa and Anna. It was just a picture of Rosa and Ty show like doing the behind the shoulder look at my ass pose, and the caption said, "Tell me you're Latina without telling me you're Latina."
Oh man. It's one of those things where it's like we all know how much of a simp I can be, but I try not to be when it comes to wrestlers because they're real people. I try to hold it in. But there was a moment during the match where they just cut to Ty standing on the outside, and I dead ass thought, her ass is so big you could stand a figure up on it.
Thank God you didn't say that when we were watching it together.
Yeah. But like that's the thing is like she knows it and she's playing into it. Like she is a great example of a woman who is taking her sexuality and building it into her character and her performances and making it work without it coming off as you know embarrassing to look back on.
But like that's my biggest complaint about all this. Why isn't the match Thunder versus Britt? Because they want to build to that. They haven't built it. They've built Ty. They built Ty up. She's cool. Let her have. Why is it bad for her to have the match?
Here's the thing. Didn't we just have Anna versus Britt, or am I thinking of someone else?
I think we've had Anna versus Britt, but not for the title. I don't think.
Okay. But we've done that. We're getting Ty versus Britt. We just had Soho versus Britt. I think it really depends on who becomes the first TBS champion, but I think there's one more, not filler, but side feud for Britt in store leading into Revolution. And I think at Double or Nothing, she's going to drop the title to Thunder Rosa.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the reaction to that is. Cuz there's some people who are going to go, "Oh, they should have done this way sooner. This is great. The women's division finally feels like it's arrived." And there's more intelligent people who are going to go, "The plan worked. Things are really cooking."
Oh yeah. I part of me goes like Soho for TBS champion.
I could see that.
Similar to how Cody was the first TNT champion to give it legitimacy.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll talk about Cody being TNT champion in a minute here.
Ooh. Okay, so that was your first point. What was your second point? The second thing you wanted to talk about.
Okay, so the other thing Davis said that pissed me off is he made a joke.
Should we rename this podcast from MMWP Live to "We Think Wrestle Talk is Fucking Idiots"?
No, because I don't think they're idiots. They
I
just
know.
they just have things. They latch on to things, and they say them over and over again until the joke is driven into the ground, and it makes me angry just to hear it. And the women's division thing is an example of it, and another example of it is fucking everyone hates Cody. How that keeps coming back. And the thing is, I will just say, I understand, I'm extremely biased. Cody Rhodes is my favorite wrestler. But everybody keeps talking about this fucking narrative surrounding Cody that's been going on for half the year now with the whole oh, he's turning into the John Cena or the Triple H of fucking AEW, and it's like maybe, but only because that's how you people see it, because you people are reading signals wrong. And I do mean you people. Like, goddamn, for there's so many people who just want to bypass all the good Cody has done and not actually look at how he intends certain things and just goes, "Oh, his gear kind of looks like Homelander." Does is Cody just making a reference to make a reference? Does he not understand that Homelander is a bad guy? No, you're the idiot who's just making a reference to make a reference because that gear's not designed to look like Homelander.
The
Cody
second
has
one
gone,
did. The
I'm gonna,
second one does. I will say the second one is much more Homelander-y.
yeah, that was him playing into it for a split second because he had to, because got to such a fervor in that Malachi match. But like the initial one, Cody went out of his way on Twitter, on shit tons of interviews, on his own goddamn podcast to say it was meant to look like a Civil War Union dress uniform because that feud was based around isn't America great and American history is flawed but awesome. Um,
Yeah, and if you're gonna do the flawed, but there's hope, spots of hope. Union soldiers are a good indicator of that of Civil War because at first it was just to protect the Union, but as they went down and saw the horrors of slavery, Union soldiers started going, fuck slavery.
yeah,
That's actual history. There's diaries and letters saying like, I didn't know what I was signing up for, but now I do. Fuck them.
it's a whole thing, and like Cody knows his shit. What he does is always perfectly planned out, and it all well not perfectly planned out, but it's always planned out to a certain extent, and he has an expected result. And the only reason he hasn't been getting it lately is just because people are reading the signals wrong, and people are making up this narrative for Cody that doesn't fucking exist. Everybody's trying to make it out like he's this Superman unbeatable finisher spamming can't actually wrestle guy when we have literal decades of evidence to suggest otherwise. Like
Everyone's thinking he's Superman when he's really Captain America.
in fucking recent history, because I said the TNT title, Cody was the first TNT champion. People forget now that we've gotten so far away from it. The TNT title was something they came up with at the beginning of the pandemic to fucking save the promotion going into the pandemic. Like, those dynamites, those initial pandemic dynamites, the ones filmed at the Nightmare Factory, were built around the TNT Championship tournament and building up Cody versus Lance Archer. And he used that match to build Lance Archer, but also to get more eyes on AEW for their first pandemic pay-per-view. They brought in big names like Jake the Snake Roberts, like Mike Tyson. People forget this. People forget that he then won that title after having said he would never be the world champion because he understands the connotations there and he doesn't want to be the face of the company just to be the face of the company. He takes on this title and he starts building not just the title, but investing in other future stars that have been coming along.
Oh,
And he brings new people into the company.
hey,
People fucking forget. We're all so on fire for Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston wouldn't fucking be in AEW if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes building the TNT title with him.
Cody, Ricky. No, they wouldn't be here. He made Darby multiple
Yeah.
times over. Darby is only Darby as we know him because of Cody.
Darby Allin was coronated as TNT. Cody used the TNT title to coronate two stars, Brody Lee and Darby Allin.
And Brody Lee is fucking the guardian spirit of AEW. You can't go one episode of AEW without like thinking of Brody Lee, because every episode starts off, it's day of the week. You know what that means.
Yeah, and this is something I've never said out loud to anyone, but like Brody Lee's death is such a defining moment in AEW, and how they called him in that episode the greatest TNT champion of all time. Like that's such a defining moment in AEW. I would like you can go back and listen. I thought he was neat, but I wasn't a huge fan of him beforehand. Ever since then, there's been moments literally just out of the blue where I'll flash back and be upset about his death all over again. Like it's like I actually lost somebody in my life because of how well they have handled Brody Lee in that moment and going forward.
Yeah, his legacy is in the DNA of AEW from now on, and Cody made sure of it.
Hmm. And like if you fucking watch Roads to the Top, which everybody is like, Cody has a reality show. Ugh, what a fucking diva. Cody was one of the biggest stars in the company when it started getting really noticed by TNT, and they started saying like, "Oh, this investment is actually paying off. So let's invest in one of the biggest names in it. Let's put him in our new reality show, and then let's give him his own reality show about him because we can rope in a different class of viewer with this." Um, if you watch that show, you can see his thought process. You can see the way he thinks about things, that he really thinks about the audience first and what is best for the audience first and the other performers second. His own career, because he's so self assured in AEW now, it's like the last thing he thinks about. There's literally a moment in the season finale where after their first match where Malachi summarily beats him, you see Malachi come back to Gorilla and go up to Dustin, who's at the monitors, and say, "Your brother just made me in this company. I'll never forget that."
Here's the thing, and people always misinterpret that last promo from Cody, because people go like, "Oh, it's please cheer for me. I'm supposed to be the face. Cheer for me." No, that promo from Cody was, "I am not changing my character. I am not turning heel. But if you want to boo me as a heel, you are free to do so. If you interpret this character as a heel, I will be your heel. But
Which it
I'm
was
not
never intended to be.
changing the character."
Cody's arc for the last few months was never intended to be Cody has lost his way and so he needs to be an asshole. It's Cody has lost his way, he needs to get good again.
But like,
But no,
very
oh, he's in
specifically
this
that,
post-match brawl. He's in with all these people. Oh, AEW's just trying to throw him in with all these other people that the fans like, so the fans can't boo him. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of stupid ass WWE tactics that AEW is known for doing all the fucking time. It's not like, I was listening to a podcast earlier today where an episode of Elseworlds Exchange where Sal and the other host whose name I can never remember were talking about evil Superman and like why is that so popular right now? And they say like it's popular because everybody loves to have the contrarian opinion of why this good thing can't be inherently good. Cody can't be an inherently nice and giving EVP who just happens to have marquee matches because he needed to carry the company on his back for a while and he's used every opportunity he can to give to other people. No, Cody has to be a secret asshole, right? That just has to be what's going on, and we got to force him to turn heel so that he can be a real asshole, and we can feel good about being cynical. That's what this is about. That's what this fucking narrative is about. It's about everybody needing to feel justified in being cynical towards wrestling, and they're targeting Cody with it, and I'm fucking sick of hearing it, honestly.
and here's the very interesting part about it. People will boo Cody, and you know what? I understand that. You're not liking the character. You interpreting the character as a heel, which Cody says you are free to do. He's not gonna change the character, but if you interpret it as a heel, it's a heel. It's that very it's John Cena, but done intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Go on dark, and you will hear everyone cheer Fuego Dos. They don't hate Cody.
Yeah.
What was the third thing?
Kenny and Hangman.
Okay, cool. Is this another
No,
WrestleTalk?
it's
You just want
no,
to
it's
talk about
just
it?
genuinely this is good. Let's
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about how
yeah,
good
oh, yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
is.
The storyline, the details that they brought up. Hangman bringing up Kota Ibushi, going like,
Yeah.
oh man, you felt like I did with Kota, right? And Kenny just clamming up is like, nope. Mm-mm.
It's like they took this feud that we were already going like, man, this is an amazing example of long-term booking. This has literally been happening since the start of the company. You can track it back there. And fucking Hangman just goes, actually, you can track it back to New Japan, and your brain just fucking explodes.
No, no, no. You can track this back to the first match of DDT.
Ah!
Like, what the fuck?
You
It's
mean you mean Kenny has always been playing the same character and him being a lackluster babyface at the start of the company was intentional? Always has been.
you're telling me that the insecurity angle is just just the continuous story of the Elite and Kenny and Hangman? Yeah, it's been from the beginning.
Mhm.
It's
Didn't you
been
fuckers watch pre AEW BTE? One of the most major storylines is fucking Kenny versus Cody for control of the Elite because Kenny gets insecure about Cody's star power.
this is like it's so good and it brings it up and it's like this element, the way AEW tackles other wrestling's continuity, it's just amazing. Because it's like
Mhm.
it focuses on its own, and then whenever it needs to, it goes like, "Oh, hey, by the way, other continuity,"
Yeah.
and you
Like
just
this fucking episode starting with JR talking about Okada inviting Orange Cassidy to join Chaos.
because
Like,
Chuck's
what?
part of Chaos. Chuck and Trent are Chaos.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not have the rest of the fucking best friends be part of Chaos?
Yeah.
We finally have a member of Rocky's over there. Hey, text Rocky. Rocky, tell the rest of the best friends they're part. They can be part of Chaos.
There's an alien in Chaos now.
There's a woman in Chaos. It's the first woman in a New Japan faction.
Wasn't B Priestley in a faction with
Not
fucking
officially.
Jumpy Boy? Okay.
Not officially, I don't think.
Well, there you go.
Wheeler Yuta, member of Chaos.
Hmm. And that's another thing. That Wheeler Yuta match was really, really solid. Great build for Wardlow. Wardlow's one of those guys who's just been
Mm-hmm.
building away on Dark. And every once in a while they wheel him out on TV and he fucking does gangbusters.
Yep. But back to Kenny and Hangman. The back and forth was brilliant. The assuredness of Hangman. You can see the years of just struggling with it. Like, here's the thing: we're going into the pay per view named after Hangman's body insecurities.
Yeah.
Like, it might as well be said this is the show about Hangman feeling uncomfortable with himself.
But like he's finally got all his shit together and he is ready to go and he's not backing down.
And now that Kenny sees that he's not going to be backing down, he's not going to be the scared little shit. He pulls every fucking stop out of the thing, every single thing.
Every trick out of the bag.
Yeah, every trick to try and belittle him. He goes like, "Oh no, I always thought you were good. You just never lived up to it. You were the reason why you felt bad, not I. I didn't cause any of that. But let me also just take this knife and stab it in your heart and remind you of the time I made you feel like shit."
Mhm.
And then they worked us with Don Callis.
Yeah. Oh my God. Fucking getting up and going like, I don't know if we'll ever tag together. I don't know if we'll ever be friends again, but let's do great at Full Gear. And you think like that's unexpected, a handshake to end the show. That's actually kind of cool and kind of makes sense. Like, okay. And then just like and fucking Brian Zane brought it up. The Don Callis as the cameraman got in the way of the shot a couple times. And you're feeling like, oh, this guy's kind of annoying. I hope he doesn't get in trouble, but like he is fucking up here. And then like Don Callis comes out of nowhere, hits Hangman over the head with the camera, takes off his mask, his COVID mask, and then takes off a fake beard he has underneath the COVID mask and goes, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he was no longer working for the company. Because they fucking worked the entire news circuit with a rumor that Impact and AEW were no longer working together. Just by having Dawn and the Good Brothers not be on TV for a few weeks.
Now, here's the thing. I do think in part, the rumor has some level of truth. I don't think AEW and Impact have any plans for the near future. But I don't think it was like, oh, they're no longer working together. It's just like, hey, we don't have any more plans.
The Kenny thing is ending, so let's wind it down.
Yeah, anything's ending. Uh, oh, hey, no, well, we can do something with that. Why don't Don? Why don't you not show up and then we can pull like a switcheroo?
Yeah, and like having Kenny sign the contract with just an Omega symbol written in Hangman's blood. Oh, what symbolism!
Yep. This is a deal of your own making. Live with it.
And like we talked about fucking. They mentioned Okada at the start of the show. New Japan recently had an American tour. Forbidden Door. It's swinging back and forth.
Yep, yep, yep.
My big prediction for Full Gear is obviously Hangman's gonna win, but the post credit scene is gonna be fucking Okada shows up and just drags Kenny to backstage.
I can see that. Hold on, I saw something. It was on the front page of Reddit because I'm in the AEW official subreddit right now, so I could find the card for
Mm-hmm.
um, Full Gear, so we can talk about it.
Also, real quick before we go into that, we should say, fucking Leo Rush was way more impressive than I thought he was gonna be in that tag match.
4 hours ago on Twitter, Okada and Ishii arrived in America.
Shit, fuck. Let's fucking go.
And Okada's friends with like 50% of the AEW roster.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really fucking good friends with the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Like he took care of their kids while they were in Japan. He babysat for like a couple hours. I love that for him. But no, it was good. It was fantastic. Hold on, I want to see if there's anything else I want to talk about on this card.
Leo Rush. Do you have anything to say about that match?
About what?
Leo Rush and Dante Martin versus Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty.
It was fantastic. It was really well done.
I could not believe how in sync Martin and Rush were for the majority of the match. I did not expect that at all.
I do like in the inner circle thing the Dan Lambert going into Boston Crab.
Yeah.
Dax and Pack had a really fun match.
Mm-hmm.
Really hard.
Oh my god. Fucking first time I've actually caught. There's been ones that people have talked about postmortemly, and I've realized. First time I actually caught an F-bomb on AEW in the moment. Because Dax gets chopped and he just stumbles back and goes, fuck!
No. He chopped Pac really hard, hurt his hand, because, he's made of muscle, and he just looked at his hand and went, fuck!
That's right. Oh my god.
No, the last Dynamite was fantastic. Great first half of the go home shows. But we got to talk about the card, and I got it pulled up. Let's start with the buy-in. We have Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa versus Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter.
This is another reason people are talking about like the women's division is still being underutilized because oh god, the buy-in match is a women's match and it's just a bunch of people who seemingly have nothing to do with each other thrown together. All these women are great workers. It's going to be a great match and you're all going to talk about how much of a cool start to the show it was as just like a brief paragraph at the start of your reviews. Fuck you.
Also, there's a bunch of story going into this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Next match I have up here on the card is Cody Rhodes and Pac versus Andrade El Idolo and Malachi Black.
Again, I think people feel like this is a throwaway match, but I think it's going to be really good.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting kind of match. Then we have Superclick and Christian Cage versus Superclick versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Falls count anywhere.
I can't. I Is this the first false count anywhere in AEW?
No, I think Mox had one.
Okay. But yeah, this match is going to be insane. False count anywhere is one of my favorite stipulations. I love fighting in the crowd. It's one of my favorite wrestling tropes. I can't wait to see how insane this gets. Um, and like all these performers are amazing. Uh, I think it's a real toss up, but who do you think could win this?
Oh, we haven't talked about who won the other ones. I think who's going to win? Shida Rosa or Rose Hater?
Peter Rosa.
Shida
Got to
Rosa.
start off with the crowd happy.
Uh, Rhodes and Pac versus Elo and Black.
I could see it going either way, honestly, because like Rosenpack would be a good way to cap off the feud so that Cody can move on to other things, but also like there's elements of this feud that can keep going. So I wouldn't mind if the heels won.
If the heels win, I think the feud going forward is Rhodes and Pac.
Hmm.
Of Pac going, you made me lose. Fuck you. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
And basically let them feud together and let Pac kind of continue being a tweener babyface and Cody continue being the tweener. Continue Pac being a tweener, siding on heel, but you're like a babyface. Opposite for Cody.
Yeah.
Super Click in Christian Cage, Jurassic Express. Part of me thinks Super Click needs a win.
I think Superclick should win. I think they should get ready to go on to other things because we brought Bobby Fish in, and a thing a lot of people have been talking about in their Dynamite reviews this week is Kyle O'Reilly's contract is almost up. Could be getting pseudo elite versus undisputed era feud after all the shit is wrapped up with Jurassic Express and Hangman.
Good, maybe. Who knows? I do think Super Click's gonna win, and we're gonna move away from this feud because this has been going for a long while.
Yeah.
The next one, Inner Circle versus Men of the Year and American Top Team in a 10-man Minneapolis street fight.
Inner Circle. Inner Circle's winning. It's going to be a banger match. Crowd's going to be going insane all throughout it.
Yeah, Inner Circle.
Yeah.
Darby Allin versus MJF. Part of me wants Darby to win, but part of me thinks if MJF wins, there's more story to tell with that.
I think there's two ways you can go. You can either go screwy MJF finish, continue the feud for a little bit, or Darby's the first guy, because that's stuff that MJF says in one of his promos in this feud. I've never been pinned clean in the center of the ring. Make Darby the first guy to do that.
Yeah. CM Punk, Eddie Kingston.
That's another thing where it's like Punk hasn't lost a match yet, but God, wouldn't it be a thing if Eddie's the first guy to beat him?
Here's the thing: I'd say Eddie would beat him if he was like 10 years younger, to really
Hmm.
establish him in AEW, to make him the megastar.
Yeah.
Right now, Eddie, the win over Punk can be better used to build a new star than to cement a current star.
Okay, but then before we move on, if not Eddie, who? Who would you pick?
Hmm.
Because my gut is rematch with Darby.
No, you know who it needs to be?
Who?
MJF.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Because he's never gonna touch foot in WWE, but MJF is the epitome of that asshole that he railed against in WWE.
Yeah.
And to lose against him, a young rising star who is great on the mic, good in the ring, and can just CM Punk losing to him would cement MJF for history.
Yeah. Shit. Okay.
And it could be a really easy way to start a CM Punk heel turn. Because you can tell with this feud with Eddie, he kind of wants to go a little heel.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Miro versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW Champion Eliminator Tournament final.
There's a there's a lot of this card that it's like I can see it going either way, but I know what I want, and what I want is Miro wins, and we get Miro versus Hangman.
I see. Here's the thing. I would any combination: Miro versus Omega, Miro versus Hangman, Bryan versus Omega, Bryan versus Hangman. I'd be happy with any four of those matches.
Mhm.
But if Hangman wins, Miro. If Kenny wins, Bryan. We're that the Omega Page match is going to be last, but like that's the way I would prefer it to go.
Yeah.
Because if it's Page, then it's the idea of the young up and comers building themselves and building the next 5 years of wrestling. If it's Bryan, then it's the veterans. It's the ones who have been putting in the work, proving themselves.
Yep.
You know. But since I think we both have one person winning, I'm gonna say Miro.
Yeah. No.
FTR and Lucha Bros AEW Tag Team Championships. Lucha Bros.
Yeah, Lucha Bros. It's too early for them to lose the belts.
Yeah, and FTR
It'd be
have
a
the
heck of a coup if they did, but it's too early.
yeah no. I do want FTR to be like the first two-time AEW Tag Champs though.
Okay, cool.
I think that could work. Dr. Britt Baker DMD versus Ty Conte for the AEW Women's World Title. Britt Baker's gonna win.
Britt Baker's gonna win, but I'm expecting a hell of a performance out of Ty.
And Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page for the AEW World Championship.
If
Hangman Page.
Hangman if Hangman loses, we riot.
Yeah, no Hangman.
I will get in my car, drive to Boston, and start a riot that fucking night.
Let's start a riot. Yeah, no, Page is winning. But overall, I'm excited for this match. We're probably going to watch it together on Saturday. Not
Yep.
with you, but by ourselves.
Yeah, because we don't have pay-per-view streaming capability.
Not yet. But
And also we'll be doing components right before that. So that'll be
yeah.
fun. You'll get to hear components next Friday, and it'll be in the body. It'll probably contain a little bit of in the bottle musings about Dynamite or fucking Full Gear. It's late. I'm tired.
Yeah, and since it's late and you're tired, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Hey everybody, I'm the Vacuuminator. I'm a YouTuber making analytical content about media I like, mainly focusing on tokusatsu, and I've got a new video coming up very soon. You can probably guess the topic it's on, but I'll let it simmer away. I'll wait. It'll be out by hopefully next week. And hopefully you can enjoy it and like it and whatnot. And you can do that by going to youtube.com/the vacuuminator. That's spelled TheVacuuminator. Go there, subscribe, watch all my videos, and give me lots of good stuff to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to hear me tweeting about anything and everything that pops into my stupid head, go follow me on Twitter at the Vacuuminator.
In the words of Dan Housen, give me lots of monies.
Yes, that.
Hey, howdy. I'm Chris, a Boingo Writer. I make a variety of content on the internet. If you want my video analytical content, it's on YouTube at Boingo Writer. You know how YouTube works. If you want to see me live stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's at Boingo Writer on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Boingo Writer. I'm on Twitter, Boingo_Writer. I've actually been using Twitter a lot more because I realize I just want to make dumb jokes and not care about other people. I'm on Instagram, Boingo_Writer. I'm on TikTok, Boingo_Writer. I make a variety of shit. Pay attention to me and give me validation.
Will do.
In the meantime, this has been a podcast of Modular Media, a cooperative collective where we make a variety of things. They're all podcasts. There's this one, Modular Media, you've been watching wrestling podcast where we talk about professional wrestling during the week. We also have another one called Components where we talk about a variety of topics, whichever suit our fancy. We also have No Prize Podcast where we talk Marvel movies, merchandise, comics, and more. And finally, the last podcast that I have almost nothing to do with. Why don't you tell the people about that one?
This Week in Tokusatsu, or TWIT, is a podcast hosted by myself and Buster Corp, where we talk about all the news and latest releases from the world of live-action Japanese special effects each and every week.
Nice. In the meantime, if you want to support this channel, like, comment, subscribe, do all this stuff. If you want to support any of our content, like, comment, subscribe, engage with it, tell us what you think, because we can only grow as creators if we know what people are enjoying about it. Any final words?
Cowboy shit.
Cowboy shit.